So, hello, good day, class. Am I audible? So, okay, good to hear that. So, how's your day? Nice. So, let's continue our lesson yesterday, so that we can include this in our exam. Are we clear? Okay. So, today, let's discuss the five criticism that I use in critiquing the poem Richard Cory by Edwin Arlington Robinson's. So, class, you need to listen carefully because after this discussion, all of you will be asked questions. Okay? So, let's start. So, um, this is the poem Richard Cory by Edwin Arlington Robinson. So, you just read it by yourself, okay? Let's not dwell on that because we're running out of time. Okay? Okay, very good. So, um, the theory that I used are psychological or psychoanalytical, feminist, Marxist, formalist, and reader response criticism. So without further ado, let's get started with the first criticism that I use, which is the psychological or psychoanalytical criticism. So I didn't put the explanation there because what I want here is you need to listen carefully to answer my question without looking at the PPT or whatsoever. Okay, are we clear with that? Okay, so you need to listen carefully. So first criticism is a psychological or psychoanalytical criticism. So from a psychological or psychoanalytical perspective or criticism, the poem delves into the inner psyche and emotional struggles of Richard Cory. It examines the impact of societal pressures, the burden of maintaining a public image, and the psychological consequences of feeling disconnected from others. So that's how psychological or psychoanalytical um, connected with the poem Richard Cory. So let's just get straight to the point because we are running out of time because next week we have our exam. Okay, so the next criticism is the feminist. So what makes the Richard Cory poem feminist theory? So feminist criticism could explore the poem's portrayal of gender roles and expectations, analyzing how Cory's status and position as a male figure are tied to societal pressures and notions of success. That what makes Richard Cory a feminist theory. So next is the Marxist theory. So Marxism, first let's define Marxist or Marxism. So Marxism is a social-economic theory that focuses on the struggle between the working class and the ruling capitalist class. It examines the inherent inequalities and exploitation within capitalist societies. Marxist theory emphasizes the concept of class consciousness and the idea that working class should unite to challenge the power structures that oppress them. So, here in Richard Cory, the stark contrast between the wealthy and the seemingly content Richard Cory and the working class people in the town can be seen as reflective or Marxist class distinctions. Cory is described as gentleman from soul to crown, who possesses material wealth and is admired by everyone he encounters. The town people, on the other hand, are portrayed we or the people on the pavement who are trapped in a life of labor and struggles. This poem's ending, where Richard Cory takes his own life, can be interpreted as a critic of the superficiality of material wealth and the emptiness it can create. So, despite his wealth and seeming contentment, Cory is unable to find true happiness or satisfaction. Oh, how sad. So this can be seen as a commentary on the alienation and dissatisfaction that can be experienced by individuals within a capitalist society, even those who appear to have everything. So, from a Marxist perspective, Richard Cory can be seen as a critic of the capitalist system that perpetuates class divisions and fails to provide genuine fulfillment and happiness for all individuals. So the poem here highlights the need to question and challenge the social structures that perpetuate inequality and to recognize that true happiness and fulfillment cannot be found solely in material wealth. It really helps us um, how to be contented in our life. Okay, that's how Marxist theory. So let's move on to the formalist theory. So Richard Cory by Edwin Arlington Robinson can also be analyzed from a formalist perspective, which focuses on the inherent qualities and structure of the poem itself rather than the external social or historical concept. So, are you still there? Am I still audible? Okay, very good. So good to hear. So you need to listen carefully, okay? Okay. So let's proceed. Let's continue. Formalist theory pays close attention to elements such as the poem's form, language, imagery, and symbolism. And Richard Cory, these elements contribute to the overall effect on the poem and shape its meaning. So let's discuss the first, which is the form. So the poem is written in four quatrains, following a consistent A-B rhyme scheme. This sorry. This regular structure gives the poem a sense of order and balance, reflecting the seemingly perfect and controlled world of Richard Cory. So take note of the words and the important details on what am I saying here or discussing here. So let's continue. The form also contributes to the musicality of the poem with the rhyming pattern creating a rhythmic flow. So next is the language. So the language used in the poem is straightforward and accessible without excessive ornamentation. The simplicity helps to convey the mundane and ordinary lives of the townspeople. It also creates a contrast between the rich and elegant language used to describe Richard Cory, emphasizing his elevated status. So next is the imagery. The imagery in the poem is vivid and carefully chosen. Richard Cory is portrayed as imperially slim. So as we can see here in our wait a minute, guys. So as we can see here in the poem, um, we can see here on what am I saying here. You can understand by that. So the imagery contributes to sense of idealization and admiration that the townspeople have for Richard Cory. So the last is the symbolism. So one of the key symbols in the poem is Richard Cory himself. He represents wealth, success, and privilege. The townspeople idolize him, viewing him as the embodiment of perfection and happiness. So the townspeople sees Richard Cory as perfect person. Um, um, all the wealth and happiness are in Richard Cory. That's how the townspeople view Richard. So, however, the ultimate act of his suicide subverts these expectations and shatters the illusion of his perfection. And this symbolism highlights the contrast between outward appearances and inner realities. So, formalist analysis of Richard Cory focuses on the poem's technical aspects and how they contribute to its overall impact. It emphasizes the use of form, language, imagery, and symbolism to create a nuanced and layered exploration of the themes of appearance, disillusionment, and the complexities of nature. So the next is the last theory or criticism that I use is the reader response theory. So, in the reader response theory, let's define first the reader response criticism. It is a literary theory that emphasizes the role of the reader in interpreting and creating meaning from a text. When applying a reader response criticism to the poem Richard Cory by Edwin Arlington Robinson, um, I have several aspects come into play. So, there are four. First is the subjective interpretation. Second is the emotional response. Third is the personal connection. And fourth is the intertextuality. So let's discuss first the subjective interpretation. So I'm sharing the screen, the poem so that you can really interpret it. Because I didn't include explanation um, in that criticism. So, first is the subjective interpretation. So, reader response criticism recognizes that readers bring their own unique experiences, beliefs, and perspectives to a text. Each reader may interpret the poem differently based on their personal background and understanding. Some readers may sympathize with Richard Cory, while others may view him skeptically or critically. So, are you still there? Okay, very good. So, the second one is emotional response. So, reader response criticism focuses on the emotional reactions evoked by a text. Richard Cory can elicit various emotional responses, such as admiration, envy, or even sense of irony or delusionment. As we can see or read here in his poem, we can really see um, the emotional responses like the admiration, envy. Next is the reader's emotional reaction to the poem influences their understanding of the central themes and the characters of Richard Cory. So, can we proceed now to the third, the personal connection? Okay, very good. You take note of the important details here, class. Am I reminding you? Because after this, we're having a question and answer portion based on what I discussed here, so that you need to listen carefully. So, okay, let's continue. Personal connection readers may relate the themes or situations presented in the poem to their lives or to events in the world around them. The portrayal of a wealthy and seemingly perfect individual like Richard Cory can provoke reflections on the nature of happiness, social class, and the contrast between outward appearance and internal reality. So the last here is intertextuality. So reader response criticism acknowledges rather the influence of other texts on the reader's outstanding interpretation. Readers may bring their knowledge of literature, history, and cultural references to inform their reading of Richard Cory. So, this intertextual knowledge can shape the reader's perception of the poem's themes and the character of Richard Cory. So, overall, here, class, reader response criticism highlights the active role of the reader in interpreting and engaging with the text. So, different readers may derive different meanings and understanding from Richard Cory based on their individual responses, experiences, and context in which they read the poem. So that's all with the reader response theory. So Do you have any question? Okay, so none. So I have a question. We have an activity, as I said earlier before we start our class. You need to listen carefully because after this, we have an answer. We have a question and answer portion. So, okay, class. So, seems that you're lucky today because we had a urgent meeting. We can't have this activity. So, you just study what we discussed and study what you write, the detail, what you wrote on your notebook. Because we have our exam next week. So I'll just send you the content or what will be covered by our exam. Okay. So, okay, very good. So let's call it a day. Goodbye, class. Goodbye.